So good morning everyone. So we are the group 3. So our lesson is all about subject and content. So the learning outcomes, we will going to differentiate representational art and non-representational art. So later on, we will going to explain what is representational art and what is non-representational art. And then the second learning outcomes will be discuss the difference between an artwork's subject and its content. And lastly, identify the subject matter and content of specific examples of art. So we're going to give examples regarding the painting, sculpture. So we will going also to distinguish between subject and content. So here, the primary stage of engaging with art is its perception. So when we say perception, it is the ability to see, to hear, and to be aware of something through the senses. So when we say senses, it is the sense of smell, the sense of touch, the sense of taste, and so on. So for most art forms, the beginning of engagement is through looking at the artwork. So the eyes play a big role in mechanically making a vision possible. So in looking at an artwork or painting or sculpture, any artworks, what we're going to do is to use our sense of sight, which is the eyes. So in most cases, there are clues that mediate between the artwork and the viewer. It is allowing the viewer to easily comprehend what he or she is seeing. So in artwork, so there are clues that we can distinguish between what is the all about that artwork. So we have here the 3 clues or the 3 basic components of work of art. So the first clue, we're going to the subject. So subject refers to the visual focus or the image that be extracted from examining the artwork. So subject, so when we say subject, it is the we will see artwork, and then the first thing that we perceive or interpret regarding that artwork is the subject. So when we say content, it is the meaning that is communicated by the artist or the artwork. So painting, sculpture, any artwork, there are different meaning. So that meaning will be considered as content. So the third one will be form, is the development and configuration of the artwork. So we will not going to tackle regarding form because it will be the next group who will present this component. So we will going to focus on subject and content. So later on, I will give examples, and then we will going to explain we're going to point out what is subject and what is content in that artwork that I will going to show. So we're going here in types of subject. So types of subject, the first one will be representational art. So when we say representational art, it is represents objects or events in the real world, usually looking easily recognizable. So another definition, it artworks that are produced or represent something with strong visual references to reality, as they represent something very specific. So take note of the word very specific. So when we say representational art, it is the artwork will be based on the real world, like a real person or a true event. So we can easily distinguish between representational art and non-representational art, because when we say representational art, it is based from the real world. So it regards with nature, it can be a person, it can be an event, and anything that is based on the real world. So I have here the example of Leonardo da Vinci, which is the painting of Mona Lisa. here, this is Mona Lisa. So, Mona Lisa is the example of representational art. It is because Mona Lisa is a true, is a real person. So, it is a portrait. This is the portrait of Mona Lisa, but the true name of Mona Lisa is Lisa Herandini. He is the wife of a merchant. So here we will going to distinguish between subject and content. So the subject here is a woman. So this is the subject. When we see this painting, the first thing we will interpret is this is a woman. So this is the subject is woman, and then the content is the meaning of this artwork. So this the content will be she is elegantly sitting. She is she flash a mysterious smile. She is in the upper torso is shown. So that's the content of this painting. So, and the meaning of this painting is, I think she is quite serious. The emotions, the eyes is serious, but the lips are quite is smiling. So I think it's between a mysterious smile or a serious person. So the next type of subject will be discussed to Miss Aura Bomes. So the continuation will be discussed.
Good day everyone, I am RJ Bomes, and this is the continuation of Miss Bonggol report, which is the lesson for subject and content. So we're going to discuss the second types of subjects, which is non-exceptional art. Non-exceptional art does not make a reference to real world, whether it's a person, place, thing, or even a particular event. It is scripted down to visual elements such as shape, lines, and color that are employed to translate a particular feeling, emotion, and even concept. For example, this is the paint of Jackson Pollock number 1A 1948. So this is an example of non-exceptional art. So you can see this picture, he expressed her feelings and emotion. Next is abstract art. Abstract art is uses visual language of shape, form, color, and line to create a composition which may exist with a degree of independence from visual reference in the world. For example, the paint of Pablo Picasso. You can see the abstract art of this picture. This is example of abstract art. This is the comparison of non-exceptional art and exceptional art. For non-exceptional art, the higher level of perspectiveness might be fully grasp the feeling, emotion, or concept behind the work. For exceptional art, it's easier to ever where the subject matter comes from. From the figures depicted in the artwork, there is already suggestion as to its inspiration. Next is the kinds of subject. First is nature. Nature can be simple art on painting to convey a sense of depth or perspective. However, it can also be the main focus of a work of art. Just like nature can be recreated through art, it can also be used as a stand-in for greater thought. Kinds of subject. First is nature. Nature can be simple art on a painting to convey a sense of depth or perspective. However, it can also be the main focus of a work of art. Just like nature can be recreated through art, it can also be used as a stand-in for greater thought. So this picture is painted by Vicente Canco Dai Ebony Van Overs. The weed failed near. This is my report, and the next reporter is Miss Jelaica Cabrera.
So, hi guys, my name is Jelaica Cabrera. So, my topic is the continuation of the source and kinds of subject. This picture is about John Van Kessel. So, John Van Kessel, the elder, breaking nature into smaller parts, and John Van Kessel, the elder, who did numerous still lifes and small scales, highly detailed studies and scientific illustration of flowers, insects, shells, fruits, garlands, and bouquets. He studied this in order for us to know what is the purpose of this insect or flowers he paints. So this picture is one of the source and kinds of subject. So we will discover or learn of what is the source and kinds of this subject. So as you can see in the picture, what is your idea about that picture? So in this picture, you can see the source of subject here is that is the nature, and the kinds of subject is, as you can see, there's animals, flowers, just like that. So in this picture, the subject here is, diba, as you can see, there are a flower, insect, shells, fruits, animals. In this picture is Jan van Kiesel detailed and lifelike representation of insect, flowers, and plants conform to his style of collection and display. So the content of what he paint is for its representation of the insect to be a style of collection and display. So the form of this picture is, it is a painting. Yeah, it is a painting. Next figure is this Cobulus. This Cobulus is a Roman 2nd century AD after a Greek original by the sculptor Myron of 450 and 440 BC, British Museum Collection, London. Another integral aspect of human life is that distinct relationship with a higher controlling power. If the belief system of Greek and Roman was polytheism, polytheism is the belief or worship of more than one god. So, with a multitude of gods and goddesses, the Judeo-Christian tradition system from the belief is one lone creator of the universe, or what is called monotheism. So, monotheism is the doctrine or beliefs that there is only one God. So, the difference between polytheism and monotheism. So, the polytheism is the belief or worship of more than one God. So, the monotheism is the doctrine or belief that there is only one God. So that is this Cobulus. This tradition had an immense influence on Western civilization, especially in art. Guided by a host of style and techniques, various media and art forms were also experimented with. Paintings, frescoes, church architecture, sarcophagus, icons, and other carvings, vestments, tapestry, illuminated manuscript, and others, sacred scripture, among others. So, as you can see in this picture of this Cobulus of Myron. So, let us find what is the source of the subject and kinds of the subject and picture. So the source of subject is the Judeo-Christian tradition, and the kinds of subject is figure. So as you can see, the subject here is the sculpture of Myron, diba? So the content of this picture is represent a youthful ancient Greek athlete throwing a discus. So it represents the Greek athlete throwing a discus. So give faces to Greek and Roman deities or the god and goddesses whose fates are seemingly as tragic as those of men. So the form of this picture is the element and the medium or material are put together to form a sculpture. So the form in this picture is to form a sculpture. So this is a sculpture. The next figure is the Michelangelo Sistine Chapel. So in Sistine Chapel, 1508 to 1512, commissioned by Pope Julius II, the intricate fresco that lines the Sistine Chapel was created by Michelangelo. So the Sistine Chapel is created by Michelangelo. The immense detail and vast surface had to cover had him working on it from 1508 to 1512. The formative years of church architecture can be traced to the 4th and 5th century, but different styles and plans were developed since the prevailing ideas and philosophies become sources that were used by architects to reimagine what the church should look like. Just like the Catholic Church, there's some paintings there that it represents from our God and goddesses. So the architects tried to reimagine what the church should look like. For instance, Gothic churches were characterized by three things, which is soaring heights, ceilings, volume, flying buttresses and rib bolts, and light, bright stained glass windows, airy and pleasant interiors. So Gothic style architecture is often attributed as the brainchild of Abbot Suger. There is definitive sense that pointing the feeling of awe on the part of the believer of the perceived majesty and power of God, all of which happened during the time when religion was at the heart of everybody's life. This accused her belief that art was central to religious experience. So he said that art was central to religious experience. So as you can see in this picture, this is the church is full of picture paintings. So the subject here is the Sistine Chapel, and the content is the Sistine Chapel is a rectangular brick with seed arch windows on each of the two main or side walls and a barrel vault ceiling. This chapel exterior is drab and underborne, but its interior walls and ceiling are decorated with frescoes by many Florentine Renaissance masters. So the content here is the painting is all about the Renaissance masters or their and the form of this picture is the ceiling, soaring heights, the volume, flying buttresses and rebolts, and light, bright stained glass windows, and pleasant interior. So those are the types of kinds of sorts and kinds of subject. The kinds of subject in this picture is myth, because it is a traditional story. Diba? Some of churches then we see those pictures or paintings inside the church because it represents our God. That's all.
Hello everyone, my name is Lilebeth Camangcas. So my task is to discuss the different example of non-representational art. First example is the interior of Westminster. Proceeding from a kind of a hybrid between literature and sacred text is India's miniature paintings. Indian artists had a wide array of materials to work with in showcasing not just their artistry and skill. The significance of these paintings rests on its ability to foster devotion in the observance of a code of ethics through the visualizations of heroic narratives. These paintings were small but were highly pictorial, stylized, and employed a good contrast of colors. So in early India, most of the arts were derived Vedic influences. So when we say miniature paintings, that is also called limnings. So interior of Westminster, that is one of the most recognized building in the world. That is a Palace of Westminster. Owes its stunning Gothic architecture to the 19th century. So the architect was Sir Charles Barry. So the materials used to construct this painting included marble, sandstone, and limestone. Next is Shahjahan painting. Historically significant events, particularly in the affairs of humanity, are abundant references for art production. From early breakthroughs such as discovery of fire and the overthrow of geocentric theory in favor of a sun-centered universe, succeeding advancements brought about by discovery, innovation, and man's incessant search for glory plotted dynamic course of history. So, particular style of painting called Mughal school of painting emerged. It generally remained to miniature painting, either as book of illustration or narrative painting, as single works to be kept in albums or album painting. The third one is Eltres de Mayo painting. The painting shows two groups of men facing each other. It is about a war. It is a battle between French and Spanish. In the work of Eltres de Mayo sought to begin Spanish resistance to Napoleon's armies during the occupation in the Peninsular War. History as a resource for artists in search of subjects brings into consideration events that are familiar and sometimes even common or shared in world context. This work serves as documentary and commemorative artworks that illustrate subjects such as important leaders and figures, events as they were recorded to have happened, and representations of ideologies or values. The third one is Eltres de Mayo painting. The painting shows two groups of men facing each other. It is about a war. It is a battle between French and Spanish. In the work of Eltres de Mayo sought to begin Spanish resistance to Napoleon's armies during the occupation in the Peninsular War. History as a resource for artists in search of subjects brings into consideration events that are familiar and sometimes even common or shared in world context. This work serves as documentary and commemorative artworks that illustrate subjects such as important leaders and figures, events as they were recorded to have happened, and representations of ideologies or values. So in the history of art, it is important to remember that the source and kind of subjects were not merely a product of the artist's inclination and choice. For instance, a particular kind of subject and the way it is visually translated may be traced in relation to the art patrons, which means those who commission the artworks, the favored artistic style and canons, and more importantly, the norms and trends prevailing in the arts milieu. So arts both reflects and helps to create a culture's vision of itself. Studying the art of the past teaches us how people have been themselves and their world, and how they want to show this to the others.